Simply Math. Hello everyone, welcome to Simply Math, and in today's video we're going to be talking about irrational numbers. We're specifically going to be covering this topic, number 3, adding and subtracting rational and irrational numbers. So let's get into it. And before we start, take note of this. A minus B is equal to A plus negative B. And one example is 3 minus 2 is equal to 3 plus negative 2. And both of them are equal to positive 1. And so the reason this is important is that it shows that adding and subtracting are, in a sense, interchangeable. And so all throughout this video, I'm going to be showing adding and subtracting for just addition. But take note that it also applies for subtraction. So now let's get into it. First off, adding two rational numbers together. Over here we have a over b plus c over d. And because a, b, c, and d are integers, these are both rational numbers. And they're fractions, so to add them together, we need to have a common denominator. So let's get that done. First off, let's multiply this side, a over b, by d over d. And then let's multiply c over d by b over b. Now, as you can see, the common denominator will be db. So now you will have AD plus BC over DB. And if you'll notice, AD, BC, and DB are all the product of two integers. And when you multiply two integers together, the answer must be another integer. So we can say and substitute each of these products as another letter. So let's just say AD is equal to E, BC is equal to F, and DB is equal to G. So now you'll have E plus F over G, where E, F, and G are all integers. Now notice here you'll have E plus F, and E and F are both integers, and when you add two integers together, the answer must also be another integer. And so let's just say E plus F is equal to H. So now you'll have H over G, where H and G are both integers. And so I know that was a lot, but now we got it down to a nice simple fraction here, H over G. We know that H and G are both integers, and so H over G must be a rational number. Therefore, when you add two rational numbers together, the answer must be rational. So now let's get into when you add two irrational numbers together. So when you add two irrational numbers together, there's actually two cases for the answer. First off, you'll have a zero sum. So let's just say x is equal to square root of 2 and y is equal to negative square root of 2. What you'll notice is that this will be equal to 0. And 0 happens to be a rational number. So it's possible that when you add two irrational numbers together, you could get a rational answer. But now, let's take another example. The square root of 2 plus the square root of 3. This will be equal to approximately 3.14, but then there's some other digits beyond the 4 that go on in a non-terminating, non-repeating fashion. And so this answer is irrational. And so it's possible that you could also get an irrational sum. Therefore, when you add two irrational numbers together, it can be either rational or irrational. And now let's get into the fun part. Adding a rational number to an irrational number. And over here, m and n are both integers. So to do this, let's assume that the answer, when you add these two together, is a rational number. Let's say a over b. If we subtract m over n from both sides, like here, then we can isolate x on this side. So now look, you'll have x on this side, and this will be equal to a over b minus m over n. And just like last time, we need to get a common denominator. So let's make the common denominator b over n. So to do that, we'll multiply this fraction over here, a over b, times n over n. And I know it's getting a little cramped, but don't worry. and then we'll multiply m over n by b over b. And so I'm not going to keep on writing down the x equals. I'm just going to write that down at the end as it'll get redundant. And so over here you will have an over nb minus mb over nb. And we can put them under one common denominator. So an minus nb all over nb. And just like last time, an, mb, and nb are all the product of two integers. And so these all can be substituted for another number. So let's just say an is equal to e, mb is equal to f, and nb is equal to g. And note that e, f, and g are all integers. And so now let's rewrite the fraction. E minus f all over g. And we already said that when you add two rational numbers together and two integers together, the answer must be another rational number or another integer. Similarly, when you subtract two integers together, your answer will also be another integer. So we can say that e minus f is equal to h, where h is an integer. So now we will have h over g. And we already said that h is an integer, and we said that g is an integer. So h over g is a rational number. Now let's bring down the x from earlier. We have that x is equal to h over g, and h over g is rational. But we said earlier that x is an irrational number. And so this must be impossible. And so when we go back up, it must be impossible for m over n plus x to be equal to a rational number. And instead, it must be equal to an irrational number. And therefore, when you add a rational number to an irrational number, the answer must be irrational. That's all for this video. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.